Welcome to Saranac Lake. Pour nos amis de Tupper Lake, bienvenue à l'Hôtel Nouveau. C'est bon, hein? It's a tremendous day we're having here today. And to begin with, I'd like to introduce some special guests. The first person I'd like to introduce is Mariah Kennedy Cuomo, being escorted by her dad, Andrew, who happens to be our governor. Franklin County Board of Legislators Chairman Donald Debut. I was smiling at Bill because the last time I introduced him, it wasn't in the right order. It's a long story. But a good Adirondack friend to everyone here in the North Country, Hamilton County Board of Supervisors Chairman Bill Farber. We have Franklin County legislators Barbara Rice and that's a pretty good cheer, Barb. I better watch out. Andrea Dumas. And Paul Luzon. We've got our Franklin County Manager, Donna Cassane. And we also have my good friend from about 8 miles down the road who came over this Thursday to join our Madzer Madness rally, 7 o'clock in the morning at the Ice Palace, my good friend, the Mayor of Lake Placid, Craig Randall. We got our co-chairman of the North Country REDC and a longtime friend from Plattsburgh, Gary Douglas. Okay, I got to introduce this way because Tony always asks me to. As an alum of Clarkson University, which defeated St. Lawrence last month 4-1 in hockey, the president of Clarkson University, Tony Collins. And we have many other distinguished guests here joining us. We have town supervisors, city and village mayors, and other distinguished guests. We welcome you here this day. And we also have our winter carnival king and queen, Clyde Baker and Nancy LaBombard. Where are you? There they are. They called Mr. Baker King Clyde, and I told him I kind of like the ring of that. You know, 25 years ago, I was mayor of another community, and that community faced a real economic challenge, the closure of Plattsburgh Air Force Base. And the very next day, Governor Cuomo was at my side, the very next day. He helped us overcome that challenge. He was there to help us bring the Bombardier railcar manufacturing facility to Plattsburgh and to regenerate our economic growth. It was Governor Mario Cuomo there for Plattsburgh when we were in need. And literally, it's true. And literally, a generation later, when Saranac Lake in the North Country needed to meet an economic challenge, it was Governor Cuomo right there by our side. A true champion of upstate, a true champion of the entire state, but we like to think even a better champion for the Adirondacks. And that, by the way, is Governor Andrew Cuomo. So I guess it runs in the family, DNA. Before we hear from our governor, I'd like to welcome somebody else and ask them to the podium. 4.5 years ago, we had about the same number of people in a smaller facility, Downhill Grill, about the same number. And we introduced him as a rock star. He was greeted like a rock star. And 4.5 years later, it's come to light. He's done the job. Ladies and gentlemen, the developer of this great hotel, Mr. Fred Rodell.
See where that Michael Dukakis step folds in. That's a nice touch. Thought I was going to look really, really big up here. Thank you, Clyde. I want to thank you and good morning on behalf of Rodell Companies. I'm going to do my best to read this because they gave me about 32 seconds to talk. On behalf of Rodell Companies, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Hotel Saranac. Since our purchase of the hotel in 2013, we've undertaken an extensive process of both restoring the hotel and developing a product that can provide one of the finest guest experiences possible. From the very beginning, we've had a number of objectives, but two remain first and foremost. One, develop a hotel that'll make the village proud. Second, develop a hotel that will be an impactful contributor to the village, both economically and otherwise. We're proud to be a party that was able to put this project together and get it done. But as I and many others have said from our company, this hotel is the village's. We're the folks that got it done for you, but this has always been a property of the village. It'll always be a property of the village and its community. As a person who occasionally gets to play with old wood boats, I learned a saying a long time ago: we never really own history. We're just the caretakers for the next generation. And I think that's a big part of what we are doing here. Hotel originally opened in 1927. Since then, it's been an iconic and important part of the Saranac Lake community. And now, after a very long 4-year period, it's once again ready to serve as that element to the village and as a destination to those near and far seeking to appreciate all that Saranac Lake has to offer. Projects of this nature don't happen without tremendous teams of people doing a tremendous amount of work, folks. From the 650 employees of Rodell Companies to all the consultants and engineers that we employed over this period of time and still do, unfortunately, to the village, both its employees and mostly its residents, thank you. Appreciate your help. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the state of New York, especially Governor Cuomo, for sharing our vision for this project, providing the support they and he have provided throughout the time. He and his team have worked with us every step of the way to turn the dream of restoring this hotel into a reality. So please join me in welcoming 56th Governor of New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. What a day. There's just a good energy. There's a positive energy. And let's give a big round of applause to Chris Madzer, who really set the tone and said, and we're feeding off that energy. Fred Rodell, the man had a vision, the man had a dream, and the man pursued that vision. It was a hard one, it was uphill, there were setbacks, but he stayed with it. And that's what the North Country spirit is all about, and that's what made this the greatest state in the greatest nation. Fred Rodell, thank you very much. Mayor Clyde Rabideau, who's everywhere, all the time, whatever you need. Let's give him a round of applause and thank him. We have our two chairs, co-chairs of the Regional Economic Development Council, which I have to thank. We started them about 7 years ago. And I called Tony Collins and Gary Douglas, and they said, look, we're very, very busy. How long do we have to do this? I said, no more than 1 year. That was 7 years ago, and they've done a great job, so let's give them a round of applause. And to all the elected officials, Bill Farber and everybody else, I want to thank you very much for being a partner with this state. And one gentleman I want to point out and thank, which is Mike Ryan. He's head of the state police here, and he's been a great friend to me. He's gotten me in and gotten me out and avoided the press, which is a real trick. Let's give Mike Ryan a round of applause. This is an emotional day for me in many ways. Clyde mentioned my father. My father loved the North Country. He never really got a chance to enjoy it as much. I think he just worked harder as a governor than I did. But he loved it, he believed in it, he invested in it, and he's the reason I got involved. He would be in Albany a lot, and he would be working, and my brother Chris and I would be around the house in Albany, and there was always a lot of tension in that house. You know, you're dealing with the legislature, and I'll leave it right there. But we would escape, and we would escape up to the North Country. And we would just go and explore and fish and camp and spend a weekend with no particular agenda. And I hope you never take for granted what you have here. This is one of the special places on the globe. On the globe. There is a reason why generations of Americans have been attracted to the Adirondacks in the North Country. There's a reason why Teddy Roosevelt had the vision to say we're going to create the largest state park in the United States of America. There's a reason why the Mark Twains and the Einsteins were drawn to the North Country. There's a natural beauty that is indescribable, and it just surrounds you, and it is special, and it is a gift, and when you're not here all the time, just entering the North Country, you feel it. You feel your body relax. You feel Mother Nature take over. You inhale in a way that you haven't inhaled. And you're spoiled because you're here. But never, never forget that gift. It's a gift. It's a gift that the state government, frankly, took for granted for many years. The North Country did not get the kind of help and attention that it needed from the state government in Albany. I'm not proud to say that, but that's the truth. You know, North Country people tell you just the way it is. One of my first trips, I said, so how's the state government treating you? And they said, let's put it this way, we get more attention from Canada than we do from Albany. I got the message. But it's true. It was overlooked. You know, a lot of state government was focused on downstate New York. Everything was downstate New York. And they missed some of the great assets of the state. They missed all across upstate New York, in truth. But they certainly missed the North Country. So we had a lot of making up to do. And we did. And when I became governor, I said, we're going to do a 180 on our priorities. Downstate is doing great. And New York City is an international city, and that economy is doing just great. But upstate is a different story. And the North Country is a different story. And that's where we have to focus. Because at the end of the day, we're one state anyway. The better upstate New York does economically, the better for downstate New York. There was never a choice. And it was a fool's errand not to appreciate and invest in the upstate economy. And I'm proud to be the governor who has invested more in upstate New York than any governor in the history of the state of New York. And it's an investment that's paying dividends. We took a different approach. We set up these regional economic development councils because Albany does not know best. And these are all different regions and different economies. North Country is a little different than Western New York, is different than the Southern Tier, is different than Long Island. So we said, let's address each region as a region. And Tony and Gary's charge was to bring everyone together from the North Country, because we call it the North Country, but there are different counties. There's the East, there's the West. We had to actually bring ourselves together in the North Country, come up with one plan, bring all the government officials, all the academics, all the business people, put them all at one table to come up with one plan. And we said, we'll then invest in it. State of New York has invested $3.5 billion just in the North Country, largest investment in the history of the state of New York in the North Country. And we were smart about the way we did it, because there's a tension, let's be honest. There's a tension between preserving the asset, which is the North Country, the beauty of the North Country, the gift of Mother Nature, and doing economic development because we need jobs at the same time. And you have to balance those two, and you have to balance them carefully. And we have. We have the Finch Prine acquisition. We have the Boreas Pond acquisition. We've acquired more land than we've acquired in 100 years to add to the park and to grow that asset. At the same time, we said we do need to generate jobs, and we invested in Norsk Titanium. We have Alcoa with 600 jobs, building a new international airport at Plattsburgh. Trudeau Institute has been invested in and is a world-class organization. Once again, let's give Trudeau a round of applause. We made the single smartest investment that is going to pay dividends for generations and will be finished by the end of this year, which is the first state in the country to have 100% broadband coverage. And we invested in tourism, very heavily in tourism. Why? Because this was a hidden secret. I brought up my daughter Mariah today with a group of her friends from downstate New York City people, let's call them. Doesn't make them bad people, just means they're from New York City. And we're going to leave here, and we're going to do a little snowmobiling at the Gabriels. We're debating how long it's going to be, because they're getting a little nervous to begin with. But on the ride up, everybody was saying, wow, I didn't even know this was here. I didn't even know this was here. And it had been kept a secret. Now, part of that was by design, because part of the population in the North Country is selfish, and you wanted to keep it to yourself. Let's be honest. But part of it is the state never publicized what we have. And tourism is all about publicity. And for the North Country, it's just about exposure. Get them to come once, and they will come back, and they will get it. And everybody universally has the same response, which is, wow, I didn't know this was here. I didn't know this was here. New York City, you have 50 million tourists coming into New York City every year. Just take a fraction of that and say, that's great, come see New York City and the great thing we have in New York City, and come see the greatest natural asset on the globe, which is the North Country. And that's what the I Love New York ads have been all about. You want to snow ski? We have it. You don't have to go anywhere else. We're investing in Gore and Whiteface and put an unprecedented investment into order. Whatever you want to do, we have, and we have right here. That's why we started the Adirondack Challenge, just to get people to come. Adirondack Challenge is a weekend where we have hiking, we have sightseeing, and the climax of the weekend is a whitewater race that we have. And I spend the whole year challenging everyone I see across the state to come take on my raft in the Whitewater Adirondack Challenge. I want you to know, 7 years, I am undefeated in that challenge. And they all come because we wager a little money on the side, all within the legal limits. But we've had Mayor Mike Bloomberg come up. We have the mayor of Buffalo come up. We have the people from Long Island come up. We brought people from all across the state. We do it every year. They can't figure out why they can't beat me. 2 reasons. Number 1, rigorous training. We train all year long. We perfect our strokes. We are a veritable orchestra, a symphony when we paddle. Second reason, the timekeeper works for me. That's the second reason. And that's why I will remain undefeated and collect all those side wagers. But the point was getting people here. And that's what we've been doing. We hit a new record on tourism. 12 million tourists last year, spending over $1 billion. We're going to take the next step in economic development, which was recommended by the REDC. I'm pleased to announce we're going to spend $13 million to stimulate lodging and hotels. People need a place to stay. Part of the secret of Lake Placid is you have the lodging, you have the type of lodging, you have a variety of lodging. We don't have that through the rest of the North Country. And we have to do it, and the $13 million is going to incentivize that. We're starting with a study that's going to be done by E&Y. It should take 8 weeks. Will tell us exactly what we need where to make sure we have the facilities everywhere to make every area a competitive tourist destination. So I'm excited about that. But in many ways, I said it's emotional. This hotel for me was always what could be, what was and what could be, right? You'd come through Saranac, and the hotel was always a postcard of what was, the beauty, the grandeur, the investment, the pride. People would talk about, I got married there, we had our anniversary party there. Fred is exactly right. It was the heart of the community. And it was a beautiful, big, gracious, grand heart. And then you would see it when it was closed. And you would say, what that can be. That could be restored. And by the way, if you restored that, it could revitalize the entire town. You look at towns that revitalize, there has to be an economic engine somewhere. Something has to catalyze that growth. And the hotel can catalyze the entire downtown area. You get people coming in, you get foot traffic, that helps those storefronts. Mayor and state are working together on facade redevelopment, but that could be a catalyst. And it's also good for the soul to restore that beauty and that grandeur and say, that's who we are. We are that history and that majesty of Hotel Saranac. And why can't we do that? What could be? And today says, what is? Today says, the dreams are not dreams. That when we come together and we are smart and we have vision and we have daring, there is nothing that we can't do. And this is a metaphor of bringing back that sense of grandeur and possibility and showing that it can be a reality and showing that tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday. And the future is bright and the best lies ahead for Saranac, for the North Country, and for New York. It's my honor and it's my pleasure to be part of it, and I'm going snowmobiling. Thank you and God bless you.